Feeling a little bit melancholy this week as I realised that the Rugby World Cup is now more than halfway over and we're actually getting into the final stretches now. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Week 4 of the Rugby World Cup now is done and dusted, and as usual, we're just going to have a quick chat about a few different topics off the field, and then very quickly go through each of the performances on the field. So first thing I want to talk about this week is the atmosphere at the games. I think it's been absolutely amazing. It's been electric, and it's not just the fans of the teams involved. The French fans have been getting, stuck in as well and creating just amazing atmospheres. And it's just so good to see that. I've watched pretty much, there's only one game I haven't watched live, and that was Georgia versus Portugal. And that's because I was working at the time. But every other one of the games, I've been lucky enough to catch them live. And almost every game, I'm watching it, wishing I was sat in the stand in the atmosphere that's there in the stadium. And then this weekend gone was no different. There was some amazing atmospheres there. Even at games where you think that wouldn't be that attractive to neutrals, but I think the French public really have taken this World Cup to heart, and it's great to see them getting in there and just singing their hearts out, and you can hear the music in the crowd and stuff like that, and it really has been great. And although as an Irishman, I wish that we actually would have gotten to host this Rugby World Cup as we thought we would. France, on that point at least, are doing a great job. We talked about other stuff that they're not doing so well, but we have to give them props for the things that they have done well. And atmosphere there's definitely a big tick in that box. Next then is this week gone in terms of games it felt like kind of a moving week. And what I mean by that is that teams were kind of positioning themselves for this final week coming, rather than, we didn't have a big clash like we had with Ireland versus South Africa, or New Zealand versus France, or Scotland versus South Africa. Those kind of big games that we knew were going to have a big impact on how a pool would finish. It was more kind of teams jostling for getting a position and making it so that they had a chance in the final round of games to qualify for the knockout stages. So had a very different, at least for me, a different feel to it. And maybe it was because Ireland weren't playing this week as well that it had that different feel. But there were still some really good games on, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. Next thing then I want to talk about is just Eddie Jones, and in terms of I'm not sure what he's doing. We had that whole thing where he was talking to Japanese coaches before his team's game, and came out about that the week before and stuff, and just wondering if you're the ARU, you've got to be wondering whether you made the right choice in bringing him in, especially given now that Australia technically they're not out of the tournament yet, and we will have a video this week, probably tomorrow or Wednesday, looking at the state of each of the pools. We'll go a bit more into that, but they're basically out of the Rugby World Cup at the pool stages, and I don't think that's happened to Australia before. And he has been hard to get the team ready for 2027, but then you see what he did with basically what happened with Carter Gordon, being made his number one guy, and then being unceremoniously got hooked and then dropped. And yeah, you gotta, if you're an Australian fan, you gotta be worried about what's actually happening there with that. Now Eddie, we've seen it before, he can turn things around, and he does, he's a great tactician for one-off events and stuff like that. But my worry with him is that he's not a very personable guy, and I think to build a team spirit, you've got to have like coaches that want to work with him and players that want to play for him. And I think generally he's able to do that over a short period of time, and then when it's longer, he seems to, whatever it is, it seems to start falling apart. And with like 4 years until the next Rugby World Cup, I'm just a bit worried that with the spotlight as well as going to be on the Wallabies, because they are the home nation for that whether he's actually going to last until then. So we'll have to kind of watch the space with that. Next thing is stats. So I've been promising stats for ages, and I haven't been delivering, so apologies for that. Finally today, I had a day off. There was no rugby on, which meant that I actually had time. So I spent 10 hours collating stats from every single game that we had so far. So 32 games, and put it in a format that makes it a lot easier for me to pull out stats that I want to talk about. And we're going to have this week and going forward, hopefully, a stats video, a few stats video at least every week that focuses on just a single stat. So it'll be a 10-minute video that talks about either line out success, or how mauls are going, or the one that I just made. I just finished one, so I now know that I can actually produce them, is on meters carried. So we just focus on one stat for about 10 minutes, and we'll talk about that. You'll see the format that I've gone with is basically a knockout along the same lines as the Rugby World Cup. So quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, and then look back at the pools, and then look back at the best performances in game by game as well. So the top 5 performances in a game by a team, and then the 5 worst performances as well. So it gives us kind of a good feeling, or a good look at each individual stat there. So I'm very happy that I found a way to actually do it, because I love sharing stats with you guys, and I didn't want it to be me just rattling off numbers at you. I wanted it to make it a slightly different format that tied in with the Rugby World Cup. So you've got that to look forward to. Next, then, I want to talk about the channel. So I talked about it last week, and how you guys have really helped me in terms of improving the channel. Like, I've got some really good feedback from you that's helped me to improve the way I actually make my videos, and I think hopefully the quality of them as well. And just in terms of, I've been so happy with having so many people who have interacted on videos, and just having like a little community that there are people that I look forward to posting, because then I can have a chat with them, because that's why I like rugby. Is I love talking about rugby. That's why I have this channel, is because I love talking about rugby. And if I could get a few people in the pub, I'd happily sit there all day, have a few drinks, and just talk about rugby for 8-10 hours or whatever. I probably wouldn't drink the whole time, because I can't drink that much, but I would still talk a lot. So that's been great. But the last week, I have to say that I expected, because last week, I'm talking about not the weekend gone, but the last week, as in the weekend before and kind of the week after it. I was expecting, that was going to be one of the biggest weeks for my channel, because a lot of my viewers are from South Africa. A lot of them are from Ireland. We had South Africa versus Ireland, and I thought, okay, it's South Africa versus Ireland content is going to be very big, probably some of the biggest videos that I've had on my channel to date. But then it was, I don't know what happened. Maybe the YouTube algorithm kind of buried my channel or something for that week, because numbers just went off a cliff and went down, and it was very surprising to see that. And it was kind of I guess like a little bit disheartening, honestly, for that to happen, because a lot of my build up towards the Rugby World Cup was based around that game, and thinking that, okay, if I can get a nice format, and maybe it's gonna spur my channel on from there as well. But as I said, I can't really complain that the fact that people take time to sit down and watch my videos as well. It's just when you expect things to go a certain way and they don't, it's just a bit of a surprise. So I think it was maybe just the algorithm, for whatever reason, decided not to show my videos to people, because I didn't even see some of my regulars posting on my South Africa stuff, which would maybe say that, maybe people didn't see it or whatever. I'm not too sure, but hopefully this coming weekend, the knockout stages, things will pick back up again. So I don't ask very often, but I would ask you guys that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, maybe consider subscribing. And if you are a regular, maybe hit that like button and post comments. All that stuff really does help the algorithm and helps videos, do a lot better than they would otherwise. So, but I'm not going to talk about that too much, so let's leave that aside. Let's move on then to the performances from the week. So we're going to start with the Wednesday game. It was Uruguay versus Namibia. Namibia, they started so well, 14 points up within, not very many minutes at all, the first quarter. And I think Uruguay were a little bit shell-shocked by the fact that, they would have come into this game thinking, okay, this is the one game that we should win. We're against, some really tough teams in, the rest of the pool, but this is the game that we can win and show people what we're all about. And then they find themselves 14-0 down. But then they did really well, I think, to slowly turn things around, get back on top of Namibia and, get that win. Namibia, they probably thought, having gone 14-0 up, that this was their chance to get their, would have been their very first Rugby World Cup win. And it was certainly the best performance that they put in. And again, it just, games like this just speak to the fact that we need to support unions like Namibia and like Uruguay as well to lift them up so that we can have competitive games like this. They can do that against, Italy or New Zealand or France as well, and not be shipping whatever it is 70, 80, 90 points in Namibia's case at least. But it was a decent game to watch. I thought that it was just going to be another drubbing for Namibia, but they got that start, and Uruguay finding their way back and figuring things out on the field was very interesting to see as well. On to then the Thursday game, we had Japan 28, Samoa 22. So this was a game between two teams who had ambitions to make the quarterfinals. It was basically an elimination game as well, because only one of them would realistically be in with a chance of that, having both already lost a game. Samoa probably not playing as well as they could have, and Japan, they're improving a little bit. They're still nowhere near 2019 level, and I don't think they're going to hit that any time during this tournament or any time in the next year or two either. It looks like they've got a rebuilding operation to go after this Rugby World Cup. But Japan, they had enough to get through, and as someone who lived in Japan for so long, I was very happy that they did that. And they've put themselves in a position now to potentially make the quarterfinals for two tournaments on the bounce, which would be an amazing achievement for them. On to the Friday game then, we had New Zealand 96, Italy 17. So this one I'm going to spend a little bit more time on, because Italy's performance just has to be talked about a little bit more. So New Zealand, they can only beat what's in front of them, and absolutely destroyed Italy. But Italy were just absolutely abject in defeat, and it was really disappointing to see, because when people talk about the idea even of Italy being replaced in the Six Nations, I always balk against it, because I feel like we've seen progress coming from them through the years. It's not always been linear, they've had setbacks and stuff like that, but we've seen them getting better, and especially the likes of Benetton in the URC as well, getting more competitive. And you can see that it's a long-term process, but they are going to eventually get to a point where it's not an automatic thing where they're going to be one of the teams battling for the wooden spoon in the Six Nations. That they will get to a point where they're going to be have a period where they're more comfortable mid-table Six Nations team, and then potentially as well actually have a tilt at the title at some point in the future. So, I've a lot of time for Italy. I've covered a lot of their games in the URC and in Europe as well for Benetton and Zebre, but this performance here is indefensible. And it wasn't just the fact that when New Zealand got a big lead, the heads went down. It seemed like the heads were down even before whatever was going on with them were down right from the start, that there was just no fight in the team at all. And, they could take a leaf out of the book of the performance. Like even Romania shipped 84 points against Scotland, but the players were trying, and the players did not want, every time Scotland scored, they had to work for it. They had to create the space. Romania were going in there, tackling their hearts out, trying to close down that space. It was just, Scotland were just too good for them. But Italy, there was just no fight. And it felt like New Zealand, they just had to push, and the door flung open for them, every time that they came forward. And yeah, it's just very disappointing for Italy. You expect better for them. And, that maybe Italy of old, I'm not going to say this result would be acceptable, but maybe expected. But I don't think anybody, whether Italian fans or All Black fans or anywhere in between, would have expected this result in this game and that performance from Italy. And, Kieran Crowley, we talked about, how he's done a good job with Italy, and it was kind of strange that Italy decided not to go with him after this Rugby World Cup from here. But that performance there certainly, if he was continuing, would have raised question marks about whether he's the right man to kick on with the team. And maybe it's a good thing that a new coach is going to come in and start with a clean slate after this, because that was terrible. And I just hope for their sake that against France that we don't see the same thing again, because those players are too good to put in a performance like that. Sure, maybe man for man New Zealand have better players, but I don't think they're 80 points or near enough 80 points better man for man than Italy. So hopefully we see better from them. But again, New Zealand, they can only beat what's in front of them. On to the next one then, Argentina 59, Chile 5. So Chile made it really hard for Argentina at the start, and Argentina kind of had to find a rhythm. And once they got there, they started to stretch away, but still Chile, even when it's still a heavy defeat for them, right? But they still, you can see that the ambition is there. Maybe not the entire skill set is there in order to be able to finish off moves, and maybe they present chances to their opposition, but there's still game, and the guys are playing with smiles on their faces, and it's just been really good. Argentina, they got the result that basically lets them go into that basically winner takes all game against Japan, and that's where their focus is going to be, I think. But Argentina did change some players, and some of the wider squad did deliver in this game, and maybe there's going to be some questions about who actually gets selected for Japan now because of that. Next one then is Fiji 17, Georgia 12. So Georgia finally turned up at World Cup 2023. I thought they were going to do it against Portugal when they went 13-0 ahead, and thought they were going to kick on and really show us what they could do, but they kind of went backwards in that game. But in this one, they really put it up to Fiji, and Fiji absolutely had to fight for the win in this one. And it was a really exciting game. And, Pool C now really has grown on me, I have to say. At the start, it was kind of I don't really want to watch some of these games because they're not very, very entertaining. But now we've had a lot of really good close games coming out of that pool, so it really has improved as it's gone on. Then on to the next game then is Scotland 84, Romania 0. So Scotland, great performance from them. Again, it was more the wider squad. Ben Healy looked a little bit nervous at the start, but good kicking performance from him, and they got they got a nice big score. That means that they've got a much better chance now to actually force their way into the qualifying spots. They have a realistic winning margin against Ireland to aim for, to guarantee that. I think it's 21 points to overtake Ireland in terms of points difference. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that they could do that, and this game put them in that position. Romania, another big defeat for them, but again, there is heart in their play, and it's not like they're not trying, and that's what's good about them compared to that Italy performance, is that the Romanians, they were getting hammered, but the heads never dropped, and even like the last few tries that Scotland got, they were still absolutely desperately defending, trying to stop them crossing the line again, and then they also tried to get a score themselves towards the end too. So little shoots, I guess, for them is the thing to take out of that. Next, then we have just the Sunday game. So Australia 34, Portugal 14. So Australia pretty much already out. This result mathematically means that they're not technically out yet, but it would be an amazing feat for Portugal to beat Fiji and deny them a bonus point even. So probably are out, honestly. But Australia, they at least produce a performance when they're leaving the tournament now that gives them something to build on. You got like Nawaka Nitawase looking decent in the backs, Kellaway too. Still don't know what's happening at 10 with Donaldson was in this one. Carter Gordon didn't even, like, he withdrew from the matchday squad. So we'll have to see what happens there. Portugal, though, again, really game. Love to attack, love to throw the ball around. Another team who are just enjoying being at the World Cup, and it's great to see that, and that's what you want to see from teams that have fought to qualify for the Rugby World Cup, that the players are actually enjoying it. And again, they're the players who are going to inspire future generations as well, and hopefully help to grow the game in Portugal and in other parts of Europe as well. Final game then, South Africa 49, Tonga 18. So South Africa finish their Pool B fixtures with this win against Tonga. Tonga made it difficult for them, in the game, but South Africa just grounded out, and they got that bonus point, and then they added on a few extra scores as well there. And now, they didn't quite overtake Ireland in terms of points difference, but it means that, Scotland just have to win by, I think 6 points or more, and then South Africa would have the best points difference of anyone in the pool, unless, Scotland then won by the, by a bigger margin, like 21 points or wherever, to overtake them. But they've done what they needed to do. They knew they needed to come into this one. They needed to get a winning bonus point at this, so 5 match points, and that puts them on 15. And now it's up to Ireland and Scotland to find a way to get there to match it. And there's a very unlikely scenario that would see South Africa being eliminated at the pool stages, so it looks like they are through to the quarterfinals. It's all about now whether it's going to be as pool winners or as runners up, I think. Tonga, as I said, they were game in this one. They got a couple of tries. And as well, like, both teams, I have to say, like, there was questions about Fourie throwing in for South Africa and just Tonga's line out in general. Both line outs went well in the game. Fourie, I think, was great. Now, did get a bit of an armchair ride because Tonga didn't compete all that much, other than, I think, one line out, but still, it wasn't the disaster that people were predicting. And Tonga, again, their lineup went fairly well for them too. So positives for both teams really to take out of this. Tonga now go on to their game against Romania, looking to end with a win. So that is week 4 done. There will going to have more videos coming for you this week. Going to have the Super Brew stuff coming probably tomorrow. We'll have stats coming tomorrow as well, and during the week we will have previews of games coming from probably Wednesday on for the final lot of pool games. Obviously, we have that massive clash between Ireland and Scotland to basically determine who's going to join South Africa. Honestly, I think in the knockout stages, that it's just going to be an epic encounter. And I can tell you, as an Irishman, I'm already getting nervous about that. So it's going to be some week ahead for us all.